Hi everyone, I'm Elaine from Gary, a member of the YYC group. Today I have my operations director, Ms. Charlene Tan, to join us today. We'll be discussing about the supplementary budgets that were announced over the last 3 weeks, both the resilience budget as well as the solidarity budget. Okay, maybe Charlene, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Charlene. Okay, we are from the same group under Gary from YYC. So actually, we are into cloud accounting and financials into that. Yeah. So today we'd like to share what we know about the budget. Yeah, and I'm sure some of you will be quite curious about some of the questions that you have because our clients actually has been asking us a lot of questions as well. Yeah. So it will be nice to actually find out, while we share with you things that we know. Okay. Okay. Can you see?
Okay, so about two weeks ago, on the 26th of March, our Minister Heng Swee Keat delivered the resilience budget. So under the resilience budget, he covered the 3 C's, mainly to help businesses and individuals with cash, cost, as well as credit. Okay, so if we were to look at the budget, Charlene, you just probably want to move down a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so I think the first one is the job support scheme that is meant to save jobs. Under the job support scheme, the government will pay 25% of the monthly wages for every local worker in employment, capped at 4,600 for 9 months, which covers till the end of 2020. So this JSS will will be paid out in 3 tranches. The first tranche in April, then second tranche in July, and the third tranche in October. So while most businesses will get 25%, certain sectors, mainly the F&B, will get 50% support for the employees, and those industries that are directly hit by the COVID-19 will get 75%. Those will be mainly in the aviation-related industries. Then in the solidarity budget, because of the circuit breaker in April, the government further increased the support for April month itself to 75% for all companies, for all local employees in Singapore. Again, it's still capped at 4,600. The 75% is just for the month of April itself. After April, the support for the companies will fall back to 25% for most companies, 50% for F&B, and 75% for aviation and industries that are directly hit by the COVID-19. Right. I think one of the questions that our clients have asked, or a couple of clients have asked, the question is that whether this covers the foreign employees, those on E-Pass, S-Pass, as well as work permit. Okay, so the answer is no, it doesn't. For those employees that are on work permit or employment or S-Passes, where the employers will have to pay a foreign worker levy, this levy will be waived in the month of April. And on top of that, the government is giving a rebate of $750 for each of these foreign employees. Right. Charlene, you have any clients that have questions on this job support scheme?
Yes. Yeah. So actually, I have one client who actually asked me, so 4,600, when they mentioned 4,600 in the recent announcement, is it referring only those that is earning below 4,600? Or,
okay,
or in this case, it's just capped at 4,600 for even employees that is earning above 4,600. Okay, So in this case, right, my answer to them is actually even after 4,006, even someone who is earning above 4,006, and as long they are a local staff, right, they will also enjoy this grant, this subsidies during this time, but it will be kept at 4,006 of their salary. Yeah, so this is one of the questions that was actually asked.
Okay. Another question that another client has asked is that whether it covers part-timers or it covers those employees that or the casual workers that they've not paid CPF for. So the answer is for part-timers, it covers, yes, if they are considered employees of the company, meaning the company has paid CPF for these local employees. So if you have paid CPF for the local employees, they're considered part of your, rather your official employee in that sense. And yes, then you'll be entitled for this job support scheme. However, for casual workers or especially in the F&B industry, sometimes it's pretty common for them to have workers that are temporary workers that they do not pay CPF for. In those cases, they will not be entitled to this job support scheme.
Yeah, I think this area is pretty clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so next we will talk about the wage credit scheme. So the wage credit scheme is where additional payout. So the wage credits, the enhanced wage credit scheme was actually announced during the budget 2020. So under the resilience budget, the payout is brought forward from September to end June. That is to ease the cash flow of companies. But if you remember in the initial budget, the government has already brought forward the wage credit scheme payout. From May, they brought it forward to end of March. So companies have already gotten in terms of cash flow help, earlier payout from the wage credit scheme, and under the enhanced scheme, the additional payout will be brought forward again from September to end June. Right. Then we go down to the COVID-19 support grant. There's a cash grant of $800 per month for 3 months for low and middle income Singaporeans who lost their jobs due to COVID-19. And at the same time, in addition to the COVID-19 support grant, there's a temporary relief fund. This fund has also been in the news recently, where there's a guy on social media claiming that he applied for this $500 temporary relief fund and without having to show any documents. I think so far what the government is trying to do is really to put cash to those people who need it most, to Singaporeans that need it most very quickly, rather than having to run through very bureaucratic and very long periods of checking. But I think that the stand now is to give the cash to those people who did it most as quickly as possible, and for people who abuse it, I'm sure the government will come after them at a later date, right? So under this temporary relief fund is basically a $500 fund given to the applicants as a financial assistance for people who have lost their jobs during this due to COVID-19 or have a salary reduction of more than 30%, provided that their household income is less than $10,000 or less than $3,100 per capita, meaning per person within their family, right? Going down, the other reliefs for the individuals, a one-off relief of $300 per union member, and also for those Singaporeans that have lost the jobs, or new graduates who have problems finding jobs. They have also created SG United Jobs, which will make available 10,000 jobs over the next 1 year to facilitate employment for these job seekers. So back on the employers, or rather to help both employers and employees, the government has also created this SG United traineeship, which will help employer to provide traineeships to fresh graduates. Because the concern is also where we have thousands of graduates coming into the workforce. I think the next batch is probably coming in a couple of months' time, and want to make sure that these graduates can find good jobs. So they've created this SG United traineeships to provide traineeships to fresh graduates entering the labor force, and to make sure that we do not have too many unemployed graduates in the streets, right? As you know, as you can see, training is where the government's viewpoint is that jobs should be saved during this COVID-19 period, and for companies that may not have a lot of work or have less work during this period, to be able to train the employees, and also for Singaporeans who may have lost their jobs or have less work to do during this period, that they can also make use of the Skills Future credit top-ups for selected courses from 1st April 2020.
Yeah, so actually this area, quite a number of clients, they all ask the same kind of questions. Like during this 1 month, during the lockdown, okay, whether can they actually stop paying salary to the staff, okay, and in this case, what would be the best solution, to this 1 month? So as you can see from the top right, because the government actually provides subsidies, okay, and the motive of that is actually to make sure that you will not affect their livelihood, okay. So yeah, so in this case, during the time when they are actually free, like Elaine is saying, then it would be good for them to actually take on training online, and these are the Skills Future credit that you actually use. So this is the area where many employers, they are actually very concerned. So I don't know, Elaine, your side, whether any clients also mentioned to you about this area.
Well, there definitely is. I would like to probably split the companies in a few categories. Firstly, are the companies that are able to continue to with their business. Not exactly business as usual, but at least still able to function, and the staff can work from home because the systems, because of the industry and the digitalization systems that the company has put in the past. So for these companies, most of the staff, if not all, will be able to work from home, and the employees are still in a way contributing full-time to the company. So in these cases, there shouldn't be a cut in the salaries, or at least that's what the guidelines from MOM is saying. However, there are certain companies that probably have reduced work for these employees on, and then that's where all this job support scheme, the 75% JSS, especially during this circuit breaker period, comes very useful for these employers, and hence with 75% of the salaries covered, the guidelines is that it should not affect the pay that much. However, for companies that may not be able to function because of the industries, and employees aren't able to work, again, the guidelines is that this 75% should cover their base, the employee's base salary, and if where possible, to send the employees for training as well, and be able to claim the training allowance and cover at least and use the training allowance to pay the base salary to these employees. So basically, where the government is coming from is that they're trying to save jobs as much as possible and not to affect the employees, the Singaporean employees' livelihood too much. So to answer your question, Charlene, whether they can cut the pay, I guess it is depends on the individual companies. If the staff is still working, then probably the reason to cut the pay is not so much, since this period, the assistance is 75% of 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 the salaries. But if they're not working, then to work out a mutually agreeable sort of arrangement, whether it's through time banking or to first ask the employees to take their annual leave or certain number of unpaid leave during this period. Again, although the 75% GSS may seem a lot to most companies, there are certain industries like the F&B or even the construction industries where they hire a fair percentage of foreigners. So let's say for a typical company where they hire half of their employees are foreigners, so a 75% JSS will probably work out to be just like less than 40% of the pay across the board. So yeah, if the business really falls by more than 50%, then yes, they do need to work out some arrangements with the employees. But whatever they work out, communication is very important. Is basically a mutually agreeable arrangement between the two parties.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next.
Okay.
Okay, self-employed. Okay, so this probably I'll put across to you, to Elaine, as a question, because actually a client has actually asked me this question. Okay, so what he's asking is that he himself has actually sole proprietorship and also at the same time a private limited. Okay, so he's asking, is he still considered a self-employed person in this situation?
Well, I think the question is whether is he an employee of the private limited company. If he doesn't draw any salary from there, then I suppose he fits the definition of being self-employed under the sole proprietorship. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes, the answer to that. Okay, yeah, so correct. And does he need to do anything to actually get this grant, like this SEP relief?
Okay, this SEP relief, I'm not so sure about that, but I do recall somewhere that they'll probably need to put in an application for this, because I don't think the government has a database of the self-employed person, and that how much of their salaries is being affected by this COVID-19 situation.
Okay, that's good to hear. I will let him know that. Okay. So yeah, so in this case, he will actually receive 1,000 a month. I mean, he actually called me and then he asked me, does he really receive 1,000 a month? And and for this 9 months, right, is actually he will get this amount of money coming in to his bank. Okay, and at the same time, there is also training support during this time. Okay, so and the training allowance will be enhanced to $10 per hour, and it will be extended till end 2020. I think this client would definitely benefit from it because he does photography, and maybe there are certain online training he can take on to understand how to do better photos. Okay. Okay, point-to-point support package. Okay, I think Elaine, this part probably I need you to explain.
Okay, this point-to-point support package is because in the last couple of years with the entrance of Uber and Grab and other ride sharing or ride hailing companies, so we do have quite a number of Singaporeans that are private hire car drivers. So this is very much aimed in at supporting this group of people. So because with the advisory that that people should not have social gatherings, and now with the circuit breaker in place, you see a lot less of this point-to-point travel. So the income of these private hire car drivers are definitely very much affected. So hence, under this resilience package, there is a $300 per vehicle per month for the taxi hires and the private hire car drivers till the end of September 2020. Then, of course, there is an enhanced work fare special payment. Again, a lot of attention is also given to the lower income sectors, and usually in it, as always in a crisis, the lower income earners are the most affected because they don't have much savings or cash flow. So hence, there is enhanced work fare special payment that will be given to them. Further, where it will be more of interest to businesses will be the property tax rebate for 2020. So this has been increased to 30% to 100% for certain properties. So the commercial properties will receive between 15 to 100%. Resorts again will receive 60%, and all other properties will receive 30%. So in other words, you receive a minimum of 30% property tax rebate to almost 100% if you are directly affected by the COVID-19. So in essence, most businesses will receive a 30% property tax rebate. So to put things in perspective, if you're talking about like an industrial property, property tax, you'll probably be paying, let's say, an average about 3,000 to 5,000 property tax per year. So you're talking about 1,000 to 2,000 rebate. So it annually. So it is not a huge sum, but it does goes into helping businesses, because the government do not have very much control over private properties. But where it comes to tenants of government agencies, so like hawker centers, you'll get a 3 months rental waiver, and tenants of government agencies, you'll get a rental waiver of 2 months. So other non-residential tenants, you'll also receive a half a month of rental waiver. So if you look at property tax rebate of 30%, it usually comes up to be about, depending on the property, probably about half a month of rental at the most, right? So in terms of cash flow, right, there is the temporary bridging loan program, and the enterprise financing scheme, the SME working capital loan. They've also increased the loan quantum to $1 million. In the initial budget was increased from 300,000 to 600,000, and under the resilience budget it was further increased to 1 million. Then the government risk share has also increased to 80% under this resilience budget, and subsequently under the solidarity budget, this was further increased to 90%. So this really puts cash flow in the hands of the companies, local companies. But having said that, it is also emphasized that is for viable companies. So if you go to a bank and you'll still need to show financials to the bank, and if the company is not profitable, it's probably also unlikely that you will be able to get these working capital loans. Okay, Charlene, do you have any clients that they'll find these loans useful to them?
Yeah, I think especially for the rental commercial property that they own, definitely it would be of help. Yeah, I think this area, so far, no one asked me any questions about this area yet. Yeah, correct. So there is also capability development. Okay, so which means PSG grant, activity solutions grant, and enterprise development grant. They actually have raised up the support levels to 80 to 90% to end 2020, and enhance SMEs go digital to support both ready to dot, okay, and reduce face-to-face contact. I think this is really a good time, to look at the solutions that we're using. Especially now, you need to go digital, and you also have to reduce face-to-face contact. So I think this is also a good way to actually help to improve on digitalization in your company, and yet you don't have to spend so much during this time. Yeah, so I think this is a good measure that they have taken to improve. Okay, and they also extended the enhanced trading support, so they actually have a higher cost fee subsidies, okay, to more sectors, and also to N2020. So I think everyone can actually relook at your, digitalization, whether is there anything you can improve. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, yeah, Elaine, this part, anything you want to say?
I think under the SME Go Digital, I'm pretty heartened that the government has increased the funding under the PSG and the ESG grant as well. Because I think in the past, when we try to convince our clients about the benefits of digitalization or going to the cloud, we find that there's a lot of resistance, basically because there's no push factor for them to adopt the changes, or that they find that it's too much of a hassle. The current systems are working well for them, but it's in situations like this where the companies have already are on the cloud or have already gone on this digitalization route previously, that is able to adopt this BCP very quickly, the business continuity plan, and many of them are able to have their staff work from home almost very easily. It's like for a company, for a Gary, it's basically like today there's an announcement, tomorrow we can announce 100% telecommuting without affecting the work. So I think it's pretty heartening that the government is going all out to help companies to adopt this digital solutions, so that the situation improves and that the government do not need to dip into our reserves once again, and to have a fourth budget announcement. So over here, I would like to wish that everybody stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, and stay resilient.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Yeah, for joining us. And if you have any questions, you want to understand, you can always feel free to contact us. Yeah. Thank you. Stay safe.
Okay. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Yeah.